Dr. Robert Cancro graduated from medical school in 1955. He completed his research doctoral training in 1962 and has been in academic medicine ever since. Over that time, Dr. Cancro has served as professor and chairman of psychiatry at New York University for over 30 years, as well as the director of the Klein Research Institute until 2005. He has consulted for the World Health Organization, the FBI, the U.S. Secret Service, the National Institutes of Health, and the New York Yankees. You saw that coming, I'm sure. Maybe the Mets, but anyway. His research interests include the role that failure to modulate stress plays in the development of mental illness. Currently, Dr. Cancro continues to serve as the professor of psychiatry at NYU, as well as president of the International Committee Against Mental Illness. Please welcome Dr. Robert Cancro, who will talk about the need.
Thank you very much, Bob. I should mention parenthetically that during the years that I served as a consultant to the Yankees, they did not win the pennant. We unfortunately must have neutralized them, made them calm. But now to be serious. The issue of post-traumatic stress disorder is not a new one. It has been recognized in the military for as long as there's been the military. At different times, it's been given different terms, different labels, battle fatigue, shell shock, you name it. But what it amounts to is that a person has been injured, but not injured in the usual sense of being hit by shrapnel or by a bullet or being thrown up against a wall. So it's not a physical trauma, but a psychological trauma. And this is absolutely fascinating because we tend to think that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Not true. You can heal sometimes more easily from sticks and stones than you can from words. The emotional injuries that people sustain are not so easily repaired as a broken bone which can heal itself. So we have to recognize something that is truly important scientifically, and that is that the exposure to emotional experiences, things you see, things you hear, things you have observed, things that you try to integrate into your experience, not only change you emotionally, but change you physically. They change your brain, they change the way your brain works, they change the way your brain processes information, and it is as real as a physical injury in terms of the neurologic or neurobiologic consequences. And this is a tremendously important point, because if psychological experience can change the nervous system negatively, it follows then that psychological experiences may also be able to correct the nervous system and restore it back to its normal function. There are a variety of non-pharmacologic, non-invasive techniques that people have used through the years. These include exercise, they include socialization, they include yoga, dance, and meditation, which is not a new interest. It's become more of an interest in America, but it's something that has existed in many parts of the world for very long periods of time. You already have seen some of the data that supports the scientific data that supports the use of meditation in a variety of conditions. More importantly, it is important to recognize that there is a tendency in our culture to look for a pill to solve everything. If Valium doesn't fix it, it must really be serious. And that is an unfortunate way of life. One other problem that these non-pharmacologic approaches take is that people see it as cultish. And as a psychiatrist, I can understand stigma because we have never been seen as part of medicine. Or as, on the periphery, you sound nuts. Let them take care of the people we don't want to see. And the reality is that we are as central to the practice of medicine. As I've said to my medical students, whether you like it or not, you'll always be doing psychiatry as long as you're treating live people. You got to deal with your patients. So there is that stigma associated with meditation, which is not associated with taking Valium. And that really is a tragic state of affairs. What I do want to leave you with is that there is strong scientific evidence that there are a variety of non-pharmacologic approaches which are effective, which are safe, which are not habit-forming, which are not toxic, and which are necessary if we are to deal with a problem which is of epidemic proportions. And we are not prepared as a country to deal with this epidemic, and the VA certainly is not prepared. And it's not just the VA, and it's not just the first responders. It is people who are dealing in stressful situations on a daily basis and handling it poorly and not modulating that stress as effectively as they could. So let me leave it at that and turn it back to Bob Roth.